You're listening to our social newscast with me, Sam Marshall. And today we are, I should say we're in part 2 of our conversation, because we've had a conversation with Hilary Leong before, who's the chairperson of Awareness for Child Trafficking Africa, they called ACT. And today specifically we want to talk about how to stay safe if you are living with an abuser, a person who abuses, or you're the victim are in that abuse situation. And Hilary runs a self-defense class for women and children. And in our first part of our conversation, you would have heard her talk about it. And I felt compelled that I wanted to unpack it a little bit more and to understand really how do you go about protecting yourself, oneself, protecting your loved ones in this COVID-19 period, in this pandemic period, when you are forced into isolation, into mandatory isolation. Hilary, thank you very much and being so gracious and willing to give us more of your time.
Thank you so much, Sam. It's my pleasure, and thank you for affording us the opportunity. Yes.
Now, this is a reality. Not every lockdown situation, Hilary, is going to be a wonderful experience, a time of self-reflection for some individuals, for some women, for some children, and for some men. Let's not forget that, for some boys.
Yes, 100%.
They're going to find themselves in a very, very difficult situation on a day-to-day basis. It's already incredibly difficult living with an abuser, but now you're forced in this 24-hour isolation. Just talk to us about that.
Yes, like we said, every house is not a home, and lockdown is literally a lockdown for people living with abusers. So it's a horrific situation. So how to survive? Okay, so we know that the whole situation is conducive for that. And why are people getting, there's no, like I said yesterday, kids can't go to school, women, whoever it is, they can't go to work. So where there's at least some safe space outside of being in that abusive situation, now they're in lockdown with us. So how do they cope, right? So a couple of ways. And you think of, especially in your homes where there's lots of people, it's not everywhere where there's just a family of 4 or 5. You're sitting with a lot of people. So people get on each other's nerves. They're irritable. And the stress itself of where's the next plate of food coming from? Where am I getting income from? Am I still going to have a roof? It attributes to all of those kind of things. It's not an excuse for someone to abuse anybody, but it's an attributing factor, right? And lockdown is. So one of the things I did speak about, and I said within families, where self-defense is, especially yesterday I said, we can't go out and do self-defense workshops like we do at the various shelters and to wherever else, you know what I mean, it is asked of us to do. There's the internet. Go on to internet sites. There's a self-defense called Krav Maga. That is your best self-defense mechanism. So that is a military self-defense, and it's a fighting system developed for Israel Defense Forces. And the Israeli security forces derived it from a combination of techniques sourced from boxing, wrestling, aikido, judo, and karate, along with a realistic fight training. So it's street fighting. You learn how to street fight. But street fight with a sense of knowing what to do, how to react, without getting yourself into a situation where you're acting recklessly and may find yourself at the police cell for murder. Let's put it that, because you've grabbed whatever it is. Look, you're going to do what you need to do to protect yourself in a situation like that. So the ideal thing is to disarm the person and get away. So that is why I'm saying in an environment like this, outside of use, people are on their phones, even though you're going through abuse. They tend to go through the internet, social media, which also becomes a dangerous platform because your traffickers then pick up on those vulnerabilities and then they go for it and act like, here I am, your knight in shining armor. In the meanwhile, they're getting you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. Right? They make you feel comfortable with them. So instead of that, it's also a healthy thing. It's educating yourself. Look up some self-defense techniques. Krav Maga, Kravmaga.
But
Look it up and
let's just do a step back. quickly for me because it's a very important question I want to ask.
Mm.
Um, the ability to physically protect oneself is not something that everybody has the ability to do, especially in a
100%.
closed environment.
Yes.
How do you practice distancing? So, for example, let me give you some scenarios. I mean, in the case where the person isn't physically able to defend themselves, I mean, no amount of videos in a
Now it's going to
isolation
help.
space is going to help. What are some of the other practical tools? I mean, I can only assume that if you are, and we know that there are situations at the moment where have taken in other family members during this lockdown period. I would assume something, don't be alone with that person, could be some
Mm.
advice, right?
That is definitely it. Don't get into a place where you're alone with a person like that. Stay within company. That's it. Don't get into a space, a bedroom, especially anywhere where you're alone with that person. Make sure there's company. There's other tools that outside of self defense, I'm talking now to alleviate stress,
Mm.
right? So we dealt with the fact that you're being abused. I need to protect myself. So learn a few techniques of self defense to get away. Put on music. Besides playing games, you can be the initiator if, as being abused. Put games on, get games, put on music, so that there's that relief. Sing, have karaoke, something in your home. So what it does, it deflects, right? It deflects from that situation and gives an element of entertainment and just softens the irritation, softens that stress that is going on in the house. And quite rightly so, don't be alone in any kind of room with that person, with the abuser.
Well, we'll assume, Hillary, that the abuser sometimes not only dominates the physical space, but he also dominates access to certain things. So, for example, I mean, and you rightfully said, and I know this is actually part two of a conversation we've already had, but I mean, in the day-to-day normal scenario, this individual will be able to go to work, get out, go to school,
Mm,
but now they're in isolation 24/7. Now the abuser, I mean, look, let's say for the purpose of this conversation that we're dealing with somebody who's completely maniacal, who has no self reflective capability, who is abusing the family not only in a verbal way, but also, let's say, in a non-verbal way through just the physical positioning of this person within the family structure. Now those people are trapped in that house.
mm.
Music necessarily, if the this person dominates the physical space, won't help. What do people do that are practically, apart from trying to create distance, apart from trying to stay together, what else can they do? Because this situation is real for a lot of people. So we talked about self-defense. If you are capable of learning those skills and techniques, we
Then
t-
learn it.
we talked about distancing, but what else can somebody physically do
So,
in a three bedroom, in a two bedroom, in a three by three? I would assume it's a little bit more difficult, especially if there's a ton of
yeah,
people. But we
yeah.
do know in the South African context, within the poorer communities, that abuse does happen in small spaces too.
Yes, that's exactly it. Um, in those places, that is why I also said for that, it becomes like an entertainment tool. Because people in those kind of areas, you often hear, I mean, I stay in El Dorado Park, and I was just came from a situation, well, not a situation, we were talking about things happening in the area. And one of the things people do like is music. So that's why I'm saying even they play that music, it's a distraction. The other thing is that I wanted to raise is besides your numbers and stuff that you can call, is please call me numbers for gender-based violence, star 120 star 7867. Put somebody on your speed dial. If you're not going to put a number like that or SMS help to 31531, often you can't make that call. So you're busy on the net. What you can do is send a please call me to somebody and have like a key phrase so that the abuser doesn't know what you're talking about. So they will know. Like, for example, you've come through to the wrong number. We don't sell salt, or we're not a tuck shop. That will be the alert to the person that there's something wrong going on there. The abuser won't know what's happening, and the person on the outside can then get the necessary help to you. So those are options. And especially if you're on your phone and are able to do that, when you're on your social media platforms that put out that call, even if you put help on some portal or through a messenger service that you know somebody, send it through. Someone will respond. And those are different ways, quiet ways, I call it, that you can then get assistance to come to you without the abuser knowing about it.
Yeah,
Especially if you can't run out. Like I said, disarm yourself and run to a safe place. You need to find an alternate safe place now. And that
yeah.
in this situation, unfortunately, besides screaming for help, and the chances once you've screamed, he's already, or she, or whoever's the abuser has already abused you in some form or the other. So those are ways
Just
to
quickly,
that you can
yeah,
get help. Yeah.
just quickly talk to me about the project that you guys are running on the actafrica.org.za platform. I know you've currently put out a call for people to help by donating towards your self-defense classes. Just quickly talk to me about that, please.
Yes. So the reason why we're asking people to donate again is because clearly we need to pay also for our professionals that are helping us with the self-defense as well. So we go to the various shelters. It's a 3-hour workshop. Each session is 3 hours. And after each 3-hour session, we also provide a meal. And the reason why the meal is like easing down from the self-defense. Through that, we engage with all the participants and we can pick up triggers that have come from the self-defense that may not necessarily show immediately. And it could be reminders of things that have happened to them, and just certain acts just trigger something. And that way we then can give a report and report to the counselor and say, you need to deal with this person because this is the triggers we picked up. So that is also what we pick up in our self-defense, aside from educating them and empowering to help themselves if they go around the corner or faced with a situation. We don't charge the shelters for doing these things, and the reason why, obviously, they are struggling as it is. So that is why we're appealing to people for funding. And when it comes to corporates and that kind of thing, we're quite willing to come and do self-defense to your staff, but obviously at a cost. Part of that cost is then subsidizing what we would do in the shelters and that kind of thing, yeah. So that's basically, to sum it up in a nutshell, and it's not just going to stick here in South Africa. At the moment, we have 3 shelters on our list, and we book for the year, and each shelter gets 7 through the year, the way that it's been booked, 7 classes, 3-hour workshop classes per session for each year. And obviously, depending on, yeah.
Have you seen after these classes that I can only imagine that once you educate somebody around their own physical space, how to defend that space, and also just how to be able to get out of a situation, that there must be a sense of confidence, right?
Very much so. Also, anger management, you pick up, it comes to the fore because you can see. And then part of the whole session is anger management that takes part of the classes as well. So we deal with those issues as well while we're doing the self-defense. So you teach you to be disciplined in your approach in what you're doing, because we say to them, please, you're learning these things. It can hurt. You can put somebody in hospital. It can kill somebody, because kids are kids, especially if you're dealing with kids, right? And they're going to want to practice because you tell them to pay, but we teach them how. We see the anger that pulls through because you can pick it up, and all the pent-up anger from everything they've been through, and then we deal with that. We even have a session with that, and we deal with the anger that they are experiencing. So a lot of things come through that necessarily don't come through in their counseling sessions with their counselors. It comes through in this, and that way we're able to record and then give the information off. So yes, those are the kind of things. And like I said, the confidence in knowing, especially kids that are being bullied, we've seen that as well. You actually see like, wow, I can defend myself. I can do something. Women as well, at one of our shelters we were at, it was as if only I had known before. You could see, and many of them actually said it. If only I had known, I could have gotten out of my situation. that I was in. But I've gotten out, but I've been abused already. And that is what we're experiencing, yeah.
Hilary, thank you very much for your time. That's Hilary Leong, who is the chairperson for ACT. It's Awareness for Child Trafficking Africa. And part of their core mission is to save lives through awareness and
Yes,
education.
yes.
To find out
Thank you
more
so much.
about the organization, you can log on to their platform, which is www.actafrica.org.za.
Thank you.
For more stories like these, go to www.social-tv.co.za, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on our social mediums.